Welcome back.
Yeah, take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. The Celtics right behind the Pistons, and what we all thought could have been a gap year because you don't have Jayson Tatum, who's recovering from an Achilles injury suffered on May 12th during the playoffs. But it all brought up a question, and Melo, you brought it up before we got here in this show. Their identity is forged, and it doesn't depend on who is actually on the court. The Celtics have that. Meanwhile, for the 76ers, the identity changes based on availability. Who's actually going to be able to play? Joel Embiid will not be playing today. I'm dealing with an oblique strain, and he'll be reevaluated after they play 2 home games, so out at least 3 games coming up. What's easier to sustain? What would you want to play in more?
We was talking about this, pregame. For me, it's about being part of an identity. And I think when you're able to kind of just survive kind of what you have to go through to survive and creating an identity, Boston speak to that. When you talk about front office choices that they have to make, conjuring up a roster, figuring out style of plays, figuring out the pace, figuring out coaches, who's the right fit for this identity. So when you talk about identity, it's harder to build kind of an identity that has suffered a lot of absences and just in and out guys and playing plug-and-play guys. So the identity to me is very respective in what Boston has been creating over the, for the longest. I don't want to, just limit them to a short window.
Yeah, I think for the goals you're trying to accomplish as a team, as an organization, is definitely an identity, right? Consistency, inconsistency on Philadelphia's side, it's tough to be in that situation, right? And when you look at their roster, they're a team that can compete with anybody in the Eastern Conference, and they match up. If Joel Embiid is healthy, they match up with anybody. I don't care West, East, I don't care who it is. But it's got to be frustrating as a player when you look at that roster and know what you have, know what you're capable of doing. And this inconsistent, players in and out of your lineup is a frustrating thing. I dealt with that before, right? And you become 2 different players because, in one, I kind of got to dial it back a little bit when Joel is in there because we talk about the MVP of the league. And then when he's out of there, I got to be more aggressive because, he takes a load on our offense, and that's out of there. Nobody can fill those type of roles when your best player is out. So it's kind of hard and it's frustrating when you got guys constantly in and out of the lineup for your team and you're trying to reach something and you know the potential of your team.
Maxey, the best player for their team right now. I agree with you guys when you say, obviously the best situation is Boston, but I think the blessing in disguise is that, yes, Joel Embiid has been out for some time, whatever, but they've developed Maxey to where now he's become an all-star. I think he'll be a perennial all-star. He's a guy that can get you a bucket. They have number 2, in my opinion, VJ Edgecombe. So they have now their next wave of guys coming in. So they're not now playing for, I don't want to say that word, but they're not playing for draft picks. They're still playing now to develop those 2 guys right there. Now, on this side, the other blessing is in disguise, I think, Jayson Tatum was the guy who you play through. But like you said, plug and play. You plug in now JB into his situation that Tatum had, and they keep rolling, and now everybody just moves up and takes advantage of their opportunity.
There's a positive in that, in what he's talking about. But at the same time, this year was wide open. No Jayson Tatum, no Halliburton, right? So we can't expect next year that it's going to be that same thing. You got to take advantage of that this year, and that's why I said it's so frustrating as a player because you got to take care of this year when it's wide open.
Yeah, listen, when Joel Embiid plays for the 76ers, they're 21-12, and when he's not playing, they're 12-14, a marked difference. If we were talking about any other player being in and out the lineup, because obviously the gravitational pull of Joel Embiid is different, would it be different for the 76ers? Is it just because it's Joel that it's such a marked difference between these 2 teams when they take the court with and without him?
I think we all feel the same sentiment. We understand who Joel Embiid really is. When he's playing and he's healthy, he's unstoppable. He's one of the best players in this NBA. He's an MVP caliber type of player. So when you talk about taking him in and out the lineup, now it makes Maxey got to figure out wear 3 different hats. I got this lineup, that lineup, that lineup. At first it was a big 3, then it was me and PG. We just don't know. We have no continuity around what we're trying to do over here.
And he actually said that I have to play 3 different roles full out. But I want you to dig into it deeper a little bit, T-Mac. You mentioned it, but really it was Yao Ming that was in and out of the lineup, and you never knew who you were going to be able to play with and what that does to a player, so we can truly go inside the mind of a guy like Max.
Yeah, so for me, because I had that experience without playing with an all-star, I was able to make that adjustment. definitely difficult at first, playing with the big man, first time doing that. But when he was out of the lineup, I just reverted back to who I was. And I'm sure
He was ready. He was ready.
Yeah, you good over there? I'm here.
Take your time, my friend.
yeah, so I'm sure Maxey has that same mentality.
Yeah, definitely does. Like I said, he's coming off a record-setting performance, knocking down threes, made threes, and he overtook AI for the franchise record. We'll see what he has for us here tonight.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.